Kevin Magnussen took the brunt of the penalties that the stewards handed out. And the first one is pretty much a slam dunk here for K-Mag. Ollie Behrman on the restart is going to make a nice move up the inside of Yuki Tsunoda. And Alex Albon is having a look around the outside of Kevin Magnussen, who hangs it at this point. He's managed to keep good track position on the inside of turn 4. It's very difficult for Albon to do anything from this position around the outside. I could never imagine someone actually going around the outside unless you have a car that's at least got front wheels ahead of the front axle of the car on the inside. So it should be safe for Magnussen. But you can just see he's turning slightly to the right-hand side, just trying to cramp the space of Albon, opening up this corner. And the natural trajectory of the track also does do that, moves slightly towards the right-hand side out there, and then flings into the left-hander. So Magnussen's doing that, but in doing so, there's not enough space for a Formula One car there, and Albon hits him, and that is a 10-second penalty for Kevin Magnussen. Previously, may well have been a 5-second penalty, given Albon carried on in the race, but it's not a great bit of driving from Magnussen, and there was small damage to both cars in this one. We can see it once again with Albon. Looks to be a decent move on the inside here. Yuki Tsunoda, who's going to be a big contender for this 10th place later on just ahead, and Magnussen, he's got no right to squeeze Albon all the way into the wall here, but yet he does, and there's a little bit of contact there. And 10-second penalty, which ends his race.
Didn't mean to have contact. The wall sort of comes back at you, and I just judged it badly, and we had contact, unfortunately. So I mean, it is what it is. But we showed good pace. Unfortunately, I had another penalty with Tsunoda.
Magnussen really didn't have a huge amount to say for the move with Albon, a misjudgment and a 10-second penalty. Now we get to the realms of Haas against RB, teamwork against one driver fighting for himself. And we can see here, this move is crucial that Magnussen puts on. So Zhou in front defends from Tsunoda. Yuki's a little bit wide at the first curb. He's not taking this line that Magnussen does right up on the inside of turn 2 there, which is good for Magnussen. Manages to turn the car and punch out of this corner. And then he actually gets himself to a position to make this move on the inside of turn 4. It's a bold one, it's a risky one, but it's Kevin Magnussen, and he can do this sort of thing. From this position, this is actually a decent chance now to make the move. He's got the space on the inside, and he should make this stick, but he's a little bit late on the brakes from so far on the inside, off the racing line, and he doesn't stop the car in time. It's an honest move, I believe, trying to get clear of Tsunoda. Still thinking at this point, he knows he's got a 10-second penalty, but he wants to clear Tsunoda, he wants to clear Zhou, and there's potential for a point up for grabs still for Magnussen if he can clear away from Tsunoda in the rest of the race. The Haas car clearly had some pace in this Grand Prix, but in doing this, he goes over track limits, and there we go, all 4 wheels over the white line, and he doesn't give it back. So that is another 10-second penalty for Kevin Magnussen. You can see Tsunoda here knows it and immediately gets on the radio.
Yeah, we'll take our track.
And that is a 10-second penalty for Magnussen. Again, in previous years would have been a 5-second penalty, but the FIA, to deter overtaking off the track, have upped it to 10, and should be a good move on the face of it. Magnussen hit them with 2 10-second penalties, making it 20 seconds, making it definitely race over for him, but not race over for Haas.
Not a great day for me, of course, but then I think I made up for it with the effort on keeping everyone behind to create a gap for Nico to pit, and he scored a point today, so that's super important. Right now I'm not fighting for a driver's championship, so the real fight is in the constructors, and I'm happy we scored a point today.
And that's where this gets a little bit contentious between RB and Haas now. It could be seen as cynical for Magnussen to overtake off the road and then back into Tsunoda and help Nico Hulkenberg take the point, which is exactly what he did, and we're going to look at that shortly, how he managed to do that. But in doing so, Tsunoda had another chance to fight through. And Yuki was ahead of these guys, could have stayed clear of Magnussen had he driven a cleaner race, but didn't manage to make it. This was his best chance to come back through on K-Mag and has the DRS. Magnussen defends, but there's nothing he can do with the overspeed here from Tsunoda. Defends the inside line, and Magnussen, never say never. He knows for the sake of the team, he has to come back here and he has to try and keep Tsunoda at bay. Sends it back up the inside at turn 2 and then forces Yuki wide. Had Yuki done enough at the apex of this corner? I'm not sure. It's very tight. Was he ahead at the apex or were they neck and neck? And certainly by the time he's forced wide, he's behind the Haas. And the FIA didn't look at this one. But that, crucially, then allows Esteban Ocon to come through. There goes the Alpine on the right-hand side. And now Tsunoda's in a DRS train and he's got no more chance to attack Kevin Magnussen, which means that Magnussen can run at his own pace. The Alpine's not very quick in a straight line. It allows him to go slower through the corners and really bunch up the pack to create the space for Nico Hulkenberg. RB, not very happy. They thought ethically, Magnussen, considering he gained the place off the road, should have had to give it back. And I can sympathise with that point of view. 10 seconds now for the FIA. Feels like they've stepped up the punishment for overtaking off the track, which is a good move. But I think this sort of example shows that probably just giving the place up is the fairest penalty of all. Magnussen didn't do that, but Haas also drove a blinder with what they had, played to the rules that are there on the day, and got Hulkenberg to the points.
I'm really sorry that it ended up the way it did, but I can't thank you enough for your efforts. It really means so much to the team. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry man. I'm happy I could make it up for screwing us over. I'll keep it clean next time. Congrats on the points. Well deserved, everyone. Let's go for more, yeah.
But as it was, let's have a look at how Haas did manage to score that final point with Nico Hulkenberg, Kevin Magnussen playing the brilliant support act. And this is the race plot from everyone in the Grand Prix. And you can see there's a big gap between 9th and the dotted white line that is Nico Hulkenberg in 10th. In Bahrain, that was occupied by Lance Stroll coming through the field, but he crashed out. And that gave everyone else behind a chance of points. The key part in this fight comes in the middle of the race, where the dotted white line moves way clear of that number of lines underneath the dotted green of Zhou, who also stayed out. Magnussen backing up the whole pack, and that allowed Hulkenberg the space to pit and come out ahead. We can see this in more detail if we just add the two Haas colours to this graph. There you go. The divergence from 4.4 seconds that Magnussen was behind Hulkenberg, ticking along nicely, having made a pit stop. He managed to drop back in a few laps to 21 seconds back. Should have been a pretty tough ask, and it was way harder than he made it look, because you've got to lose that pace but not be overtaken from the cars behind. That was the key for K-Mag, but he dropped back, losing loads of time in the first sector, where it's very difficult to pass, before gunning it into turn 13 and making sure he's not a sitting duck then with the triple DRS later on in the lap. A difficult ask for Magnussen, but as you can see, perfectly executed, and Hulkenberg had the free pit stop at the final point.
It's very important, you know, it's like very tight, especially in the midfield. So far it looks like the top, 5 teams, they have a big edge on everybody else, so that's 10 cars, and there's not many opportunities to score points. I mean, 1 point is 1 point, it's also not super much obviously, but better one than none.